Welcome, one and all, to the. Oh my gosh, Luke, we gotta
Apparently,
do this.
it's our duty.
It is our duty.
Through thick and thin, we will spoil things.
Fantastic Four, 2015 edition, directed by Josh Trank. Oh Lord. Okay, so we saw this movie on Thursday. It's now Sunday. This movie has had a little bit of time to ruminate within us.
I would go with Fester.
Fester. That sounds appropriate. Okay, so let's talk about kind of like how we came into this movie. Because me personally, I came into it with like a hopeful but cautious optimism.
At one point, you were excited somewhat for this movie, weren't you? Before like things started kind of being revealed about it.
It was, I would
like
say,
a month ago or something.
A month ago, I was excited. And then it just the fear started taking over. I started getting really upset, really worried. And I was like, all right, we're going to go see this. It's probably not going to be good.
Have to go see this.
But it could, because I say this with full transparency. Like, superhero movies, for me, are almost graded on a curve. Not like I'm partial. I'm not going to like point out their mistakes, because I am. But I enjoy them a little bit more just because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's that hero. And look, oh, it's so cool watching him do the powers. Like movies like Ghost Rider and Green Lantern, at least it can be like, oh, cool, there's Ghost Rider. There he is. He looks so awesome. But like, and so there's always like, even the crappy ones, I have a little bit enjoyment out of. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get right into it. Dive in.
And on the other hand, I, from the first trailer, was not looking forward to this movie.
That's right.
I kind of had fears from the beginning. I was like, I really don't think this looks very good. I don't think I even really want to see it. Not that I won't see it, but I don't really want to. It's just, I'm going to see it because I want to have the knowledge of what this movie did in the whole superhero universe for us.
This is wisdom, Luke. This is wisdom that you had that I did not share. But we kind of landed, not to give too much away about the spoiler cast, we kind of landed in very similar spots walking out of the theater of this.
We couldn't help but go ahead and talk a lot more than we usually do about this post-movie watching.
Couldn't help. If we were going to like review this
so
movie
painful.
like right after we saw it, like, which I was even thinking like afterwards, like we should have just done that. We should have just went right back to your place and started the review. That would have been, because like no amount of thought put into this as to like the plot and character or whatever would have changed this review.
It hasn't so far. I can agree with that.
Hasn't. And I've given it thought and fair thought, and I gave this movie a fair chance. I came in with the hopes, obviously. We hope every movie is going to be good, especially when it comes to superhero movies.
Indeed.
General impressions. Luke, go.
I was very disappointed with how this movie looked from the beginning of the trailer, and I came out of this movie disappointed, even at my disappointment, how off I was. So I severely disliked this movie. That'll wrap it up.
Yeah, and with all that being said about how like I can look at movies that are bad, like Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, and Green Lantern, and the original Fantastic Four movies, and glean enjoyment out of them while recognizing their flaws, I didn't enjoy this movie at all. This movie left me just really dour and just like, what a terrible movie. Like, it's crazy just like saying that flat out. This movie's terrible. Everything that it attempts, it fails at, and that's crazy. But like, and while it's not like as dreadful as like maybe some movies you might see on the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that, there were times where I was reminded of movies like that, which is horrific for a like multi-million-dollar superhero movie come out by 20th Century Fox. And
what I disliked about those movies you mentioned is so much different, I feel like, than this one. What I disliked about the old Fantastic Four was just that I can understand that they're not a super serious comic character anyways, and I can totally get that, but it was like they took it to such an extreme of goofiness in those original movies.
Yeah.
And that was the problem I had with it. If you go in thinking, okay, this is a goofy little comedy movie, it wasn't a bad movie for that genre, but it wasn't. I didn't feel that it should have been that genre. It should have been kind of what Marvel did with Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, it was very lighthearted, comical movies, but it was really well done. And to me, that's what those old movies were trying to do, but they just went so goofy. There was never really any point at which I really took the story seriously or the characters that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They were just kind of jokes of what I thought should have been at least somewhat more serious characters. And this movie just was on another level of things that I didn't like. It's just, to me, it's just apples and oranges almost comparing them. It's like there are reasons I didn't like the old movies, but just because of the ultra goofiness. This one, it's an all-encompassing dislike from A to Z.
Absolutely. And like, oh man, I haven't been so upset by a movie in a long time. Like there's movies like that I was upset by, like X-Men 3. Well, that movie is leaps and bounds, heads and shoulders above this movie, because there's so many things in that movie that are competently done, like the action, the visual effects, and kind of like the style of the movie, and some of the acting in it's good, but it's just the story isn't great and stuff like that. But this, it's all encompassing. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is the part where I usually say, guys, a spoiler alert, beware. But I know a lot of you are at that point where you're super curious as to how, because you see the reviews, you see the Rotten Tomato score that sits at a 9 at this point, and wonder what could have gone wrong. But at the same time, maybe your curiosity isn't driving you to buy a ticket.
We're going to spoil what went wrong for you.
We're going to tell you what went wrong, because this movie, not a lot happened, so it's kind of easy to summarize. But first, before we do that, because it's going to be harsh. And we don't mean to be. We're not trying to kick a dead horse or beat the kid when it's down or whatever, anything like that. But
you got to be honest.
We're just being honest. This is how we feel, and we don't like disliking movies. We're not that kind of people. We like to keep things positive. We say that in every spoiler cast because we start with the good things, and we're not going to change that in this one. As hard as it may be,
yeah,
we're going to try to talk about some good things, or maybe even potentially good things.
I feel like we're even actually going to go easy on this being superhero fans. It's like we want superhero movies to do well because of that. We enjoy these movies. We want more to come out. The more of these movies that come out that are abysmal and don't make any money, the less of those type of movies are going to come out. And we certainly don't want that. And that's, I think, the basis of why we always say, I hope this movie does well. It's not just because we want a movie to do well. It's because we want more creativity and more films to be filled into this library of great superhero films we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, so good things. Even though these good things might sound like bigger praises than they are, this is kind of what I'm starting with. I appreciate the fact that probably the first hour or so of this movie was decently loyal to the first few issues of the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic book. Even though it was done poorly, I can see it and I kind of appreciate, okay, I mean, they're taking that story, so it's not like an absurd deviation at that point. At that point, they deviate absurdly later, trust me, and they do some deviations, not a perfect adaptation, but they obviously had source material that they were looking at, which is something, I guess, it's not a high praise, but coming from the 90s superhero movies where obviously in a lot of those they didn't look at the source material, and the people making them didn't know it at all, weren't fans. They just make a movie based on a character they can I don't know, Superman 4 or something. But yeah, that's a good thing. Luke, you got a good thing?
I think the guy's name is Reg E. Cathy, I believe, if I'm pronouncing it right. He played Dr. Franklin Storm. I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought he was an actor that I've appreciated in other things. I believe the thing I've seen him the most in is House of Cards. And I liked the way he was in House of Cards. I thought it was a good character. I thought it fit him well. But I think he could have played a pretty good Franklin Storm in another Fantastic Four movie. I thought it wasn't a bad cast for that role. I also thought Owen Judge is his name, the young Dr. Reed.
Yeah.
I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought he fit the young Dr. Reed pretty well.
Maybe a little bit better than our old Reed fit.
Yeah.
But I actually agree with you. The Dr. Franklin Storm, I remember actually that actor from The Mask. He was like one of the guys like the doctor who's about to operate or whatever. And he gets shot. But okay, there's some good stuff. Oh man. All right, let me think. Hold on. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I thought their suits were pretty interesting.
They were interesting. I didn't necessarily like them, but they were interesting.
I didn't mind them.
Okay.
I didn't mind the Human Torch. I thought his suit was interesting, how he kind of hits the button to turn it on and off.
Okay.
I don't know. Thought it was an interesting idea that it kind of contains what's going on inside of him and can kind of regulate it.
Mm-hmm. I would say there are parts of the visual effects in this movie, parts that are passable. I
think the Thing looked pretty good.
The Thing looked all right.
He definitely looked better than the old Thing.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis with the suit. Yeah.
It was more what I think the Thing should look like.
I wish they gave him pants. That was kind of weird. Him running around without pants. It just didn't look right. Just because we're used to seeing him with pants. Just
can see that.
Looked awkward seeing him like, oh, he's naked. But yeah, it's like there are pieces of this film that had decent special effects. Nothing was good. Nothing that was like today's standards were like, oh wow, that looks great. Nothing like that. No, nothing like that happened.
Which is weird because they did such a good job with X-Men.
Oh yeah,
it looks so good in Days of Future Past, and
I can tell you right now. I think like when it came to like advanced screenings, I think the studio got a whiff of this, and we're like, probably got a lot of their like, this doesn't look good, doesn't smell good. We have what
they actually did. They actually sniffed like that.
They sniffed like a, what is that?
Hold on, there's a stench.
And like, I think what they did was they stopped production on special effects a little bit, and they skipped corners. They said, stop. This isn't going to be good. We're going to lose money. We're not going to spend anymore. That's a theory. It's conspiracy. That might not be
That's
true.
That's something I'll look up. I'd be interested to know what their budget is.
I'm very interested in the behind the scenes of this movie because, okay, here's a good thing. For how troubled I've heard the behind the scenes stuff was with Josh Trank, studio involvement, all that stuff, it's all ridiculous. I don't, as I said in our Ant-Man review, I don't like going into the whole pointing fingers at behind the scenes stuff because the truth is we don't know. But hearing that it was such a crappy like time for everyone behind the scenes, I'm surprised that the movie was made. So
yeah,
and like that's one of the thoughts like thinking about during the movie. I was like, there were many parts, and I'll tell you when those parts were, where I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is what I'm watching right now. That sounds crazy, I know, but okay. Do you want to go ahead and move on from good stuff?
They actually don't have it listed, the production budget. I think they're so ashamed.
They don't know.
How much money they lost.
That's weird. That's not announced. A lot of it was secretive. Like it's well known that like the embargo date of which like reviewers could release their reviews of this movie was very late. It was like the day before its release, and that's always a terrible sign. And apparently the cast never was shown the movie.
Really?
And yeah, I
didn't know that. Huh.
All roads lead to studio shame, basically.
This article, it's Wikipedia, so I don't know how, but it says 120.
Okay.
120 million.
Wow. Man,
it's a long road to making that back.
Reshoots will take up a lot of money, but that's whew.
They made 26 million, just for people out there who's listening.
Opening weekend, yes.
That's the estimate. We're Sunday afternoon right now, so not quite over, but pretty accurate usually.
It actually went higher than we anticipated.
I guessed 18, and you kind of agreed with me. So.
Yeah, exactly. So and it was
way to
beat
go.
by- You did it.
Way to
It
get higher
surpassed
than I thought.
our financial expectations, and it wasn't enough to beat Ghost Protocol. Not Ghost Protocol. Dang it! Still, how long are we away from our freaking review of that movie, Rogue Nation? That yeah,
I would
Rogue
have been
Nation still beat
amazed if it had beaten it, even on its second weekend.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would have been surprised.
Good for that. Rogue Nation's a great movie. Go see Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation was awesome. Hats off. Great action movie. Bad stuff.
A lot of fun, definitely.
Let's go ahead, real quick, before we get into bad stuff. Let's go ahead. I'll take you through the entire movie. I don't have a huge recollection of this movie, like bit by bit. All right. Opening scenes, we get young Reed Richards and young Ben Grimm, and Reed Richards building his teleportation machine and befriending Ben Grimm for some reason. They befriend each other. I don't know why, because I guess he thinks his machine's cool. He gets it to work.
Very awkward.
Very awkward.
Just kind of happens.
It kind of happens. It's one of the least bad parts of the movie. I will say that. Like, it's crazy that the movie does get worse as it goes on. The part when he's at the beginning, he's drawing on the notebook. It was somewhat interesting. Yeah, like I was like, I'm not like enthralled by this, but there could still be a good movie ahead. Was my thoughts. It was a somewhat artful glimpse into the mind of Reed Richards. Yeah, and I chuckled when I saw that he was powering his machines with like a giant stacks of Nintendo 64s. I don't know where a kid like that would have gotten all those, but maybe from the junkyard. I think actually, now that you mention that, I remember that's the one part I laughed at. Yeah, I was like, Nintendo 64s. Yeah, how does that work? He's powering a teleportation. Those were good consoles, let me tell you. All right, so we got that stuff, and then that kind of ends where you see that he is able to teleport the car, and then it goes to shuts down the power. Yeah, shuts down his power and everywhere. In the comics, like his dad, like is super mad and super freaked out by his his son's experiments, and that's kind of portrayed here. And then we have. In the future, we have Reed and Ben doing their experiment at a science fair. This was weird to me because I was like, what grade are they in? 7 years later? I think so. I said something like that. But it was weird because I was wondering, like, what grade are they in? I don't remember very many science fairs in high school, but like they were old, and there was even a little kid next to them. I'm like, what are they doing? They're horrible marketers at their science fair thing, and for some reason, Franklin Storm and Sue Storm are there, and while they're getting blown off by all the other scientists, which is ridiculous. And there's people there who have like the freaking baking soda and vinegar volcanoes, and that's passable. That's who they actually lose to, they say later in the movie. That's ridiculous. And then like the guys were like, we came here for science, not magic tricks. Are you kidding? And I was like, this is stupid. And so Franklin, Storm, and Sue are there, and they see what they did, and they look at it, and they're like, that's what we're missing. And so they immediately knew that. We're not sure. And I'm not really sure why they were there and how that particular high school. And upon a glance knew that that's what they were missing. The assumption is somehow like way back from when they were first experimenting, somehow their experiments caught the attention. Maybe the power outage, somehow got reported in the news, maybe. Mm-hmm. That was what I was guessing. They obviously didn't say anything like that, but yeah, possibly something in that realm. But at this point, we're still on course with the ultimate comic origin. So they're whisked off to the Baxter building. He says goodbye to his friend Ben. He leaves the movie for a very good portion, I would say, and we don't see him until later. And from that point, they're just left to work on this teleportation device. We're introduced to... They're left to all kinds of intricate material, and they're apparently somewhere between 10th and 12th grade. Yeah, just have at it. What it seems to me is like always Reed Richards seemed to me is like a man of all trades, a genius, one of the smartest people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who like... anytime there was a huge problem scientifically, everyone goes to Reed. And it seems to me in this movie, he's kind of only good at one thing, and it seems to be this whole quantum generator thing or whatever. It seems to be this is the one realm that he has expertise in. So that's different. It's fine. It's different, but he doesn't seem as much of a genius as he should be throughout this movie. I mean, and the fact that you don't understand his motivation is only only fuels that. But right at this point, they're at the Baxter building and they're experimenting and they call in Dr. Doom, which this was confusing. They're going like Franklin is at this board, like I guess it's like a military board where they're getting their funding, saying like, yeah, we got Reed. He's going to be great. Trust me, this whole teleportation thing's going to work. And they're looking at this list and what's his face? The guy who's supposed to be like Mole Man, I guess, but he dies, so it doesn't matter. And he's like, why is Dr. Doom on this list? Or why is Victor Von Doom, not Dr. Doom? Why? And like, there's nothing really spoken about this other than like
Dr. Allen.
Yeah, Dr. Allen, the guy who's
Tim Blake Nelson is his name.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. I actually usually like him and the stuff he's in. And then he's going on and saying like he like set fire to like some servers or something like that. And that's all we get. Why like there's some like bad history, bad blood between them.
It was very confusing. I didn't
very
get it.
Confusing. And so he shows up to his house, Franklin, and it's like Dr. Doom. He's like a hacker now. We've known this for a while. Actually, his name was supposed to be Domashev or something like that. Something really weird. Victor Domashev, and I think they like ADR'd like legitimately Victor Von Doom to make it closer to the comics. And so it was like again probably studio fighting with Josh Trank. I don't understand any of this. And so they work on it. And it looks like there's actually like...
Well, Victor, you're skipping a little bit. Victor basically acts like it's the last thing he would ever do at this point.
Yeah.
He basically tells him to leave, and that he doesn't want to do that whatsoever. And then the next scene, he's there, pretty much.
Yeah, he says, is Sue going to be there? As in, like, they had some, like, weird history. He's obsessed with Sue. We get next to nothing about this. This is... just there to be there. There's nothing going into this, his obsession with Sue. He's obsessed with Sue. We don't know why. We don't know for how long. We don't know how Sue feels about him. They never state that. They just have awkward glances at each other when he does come to the Baxter building and they're working with each other. There's vague, really like big vagaries towards like his rivalry with Reed Richards as like their intelligence. Like, they don't really go into it. Like, he just seems overly critical of Reed. But then they end up actually working with each other. And they seem like they're friends. Like, doesn't it? Doesn't it kind of seem like they're chummy?
He seems like he changes so fast. I guess that's my whole point in this whole thing. It's like he goes from, like, get out of my house to, okay, I'll do this. Yeah, we're doing this. Yes.
They're laughing. They're joking. Later on, they have some drinks together and get drunk. But, like... It's weird. It's just super weird. And the only thing we get from him is this really out of nowhere comment when they're talking about this alternate universe or dimension that they're going to, which they're calling Earth Zero, which in the comics is actually the negative zone, whatever. And Victor has a statement like, where Franklin Storm is like explaining to them, there are things on this negative or Earth Zero that could save our planet. And then he starts saying something like, does our Earth really deserve to be saved? I mean, we have done a bad job here, so what's going to change there? That's all we get. That's the only build up to him being a villain, other than he's kind of a jerk, I guess. And he's jealous. I don't know. Those were... And then, we get the name drop where Sue's like has to do the whole, Dr. Doom over here out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Stupid. Really dumb. Oh, gosh. And this is like kind of where the movie turns, right? Because like they have the government step in. You did it. You did it. You finished the teleportation machine. Now we're handing it over. You're handing it over, and we're gonna do it. Not you guys aren't going. Oh, now honestly, that makes sense. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make way more sense that they're like, we're sitting professionals, not you kids, and they make this comparison that like, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, but not the people who actually made the spacecraft. And I'm like, well. Yeah, they're not astronauts. They're not physically trained to go to this place. And so that makes complete sense. And Franklin Storm...
But it's not always true. I mean, Alexander Graham Bell made the telephone. I mean, these other people who invented all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Mr. Ford invented the vehicle. Like,
yeah,
it's just, that completely follows through.
It's like obviously just a dumb thing to get them to go because like... and I don't know why Franklin Storm is like, yeah, I want my kids to go to this potentially horrifying, dangerous place.
I'm pretty sure we would know who created the teleportation device.
I'm pretty darn sure.
I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
the guy who created the rocket that ended up taking the astronauts to space, we know his name. I don't know it right now, but I'm sure it's a name I would recognize, most likely.
This is an age where we glorify the inventors now. We know a lot of these people who are the innovators and the people who are pushing technology forward. So it's just literally just a reason to get them to go. And now we got the Earth Zero, where they finally Ben Grimm comes back on the scene.
So randomly. I'm just going to call him up. He's my buddy. He needs to come with me.
I don't know why. Not Sue at all.
Yeah.
They don't tell her. And she discovers that they're gone on a computer, which they're
an alarm that only goes off in her computer in a lab of computers.
And it's not like she's the only one awake. There's like all these freaking
working
guys
on stuff.
And then just a little bing comes up on her computer, and she's like, "Uh-oh." And then they go to the negative zone or zero, and all goes wrong. An explosion happens. Blah blah blah. They lose Victor. He like falls into green energy, and that's the last.
He just touches it, and apparently that spits off some crazy explosion.
Comes back, and then like all of it like explodes. Sue's not even there. She's like running up to it, and it explodes. She got knocked back, and that was enough. It was like didn't make any sense.
She never touched the green stuff whatsoever.
No.
And honestly, I don't even get how it even went through their suits. Like, he got covered in it. They just got like the tiniest bit. I don't know. It was very confusing. I mean, to me, that's a theme through this entire movie. So much of the stuff is not explained. It just kind of happens. You get inspirations for characters that just kind of pop up, like you're saying, like, we're destroying this Earth. And it's like, I don't feel like in any part of any of the other stuff that you talked about, you ever mentioned this at all. And all of a sudden you're like this hyper environmentalist for some reason out of nowhere. It was just so confusing. Like, this whole movie, throughout the whole thing, I was just like, what is going on? Like, why did that happen? Why is that person angry all of a sudden? Why do they want to destroy these people all of a sudden?
Well, Luke, we have our answer to that. 1 year later, right? That's what it is. They freaking cut to black after this. Reed Richards escapes and leaves for reasons still unknown to me. Some lip service to his guilt and whatnot is thrown around, and not trusting the government, but we don't really know what he was doing in like South America or wherever he was. And so we get this one after he escapes, we get this 1 year later thing.
And it acts like he's looking for Ben, but he knows where Ben is.
Yeah, he knows.
Ben's the same place you left him a year ago.
No, he didn't go anywhere. He's still there. Just go back where he eventually goes.
I gotta research. Where is he? He's in the same freaking prison that you saw him in.
And it's really lazy doing the 1 year later. It's like almost like their excuse. I'm sure if I asked like a writer, he'd say something like, "Well, I'm sure a lot of this stuff happened in the year." If it's not in the movie, it's in a year later. I'm more interested in that gap of a year more than anything else that happens in this movie, actually. And so like, this is where the film for me really goes from bad to worse, and it gets even worse later. But we're at the part where it's like, this is bad. This is really bad, because here we have, as I said, Reed is in South America. He's on the run, and then they, just waiting to be found, basically, because all you see is just like reports of what they've been doing, which what they've been doing is the most troubling part to me. They're sending Ben Grimm, and they're about to send Johnny Storm on missions to like do government bidding, basically, and kill a bunch of people. And there's a scene like they show like monitor footage of like Ben like attacking armies. And a lot of people have problems with like superheroes killing people. Sometimes I'm like, it depends on the context. Like, I'm fine with Iron Man causing an explosion and a bunch of people like dying. Like, he's not like super concerned like Batman and Superman are. It's a different universe. But the fact that they don't even go into it, that he's working for the army, killing people for unknown reasons, and they have a monitor screen that shows his kill count, and it's never brought up. Ben Grimm isn't a soldier. He isn't a guy who's used to this sort of thing. He's just been turned into a rock monster, and now he's killing people. We don't know how he feels about that. We don't know how anyone feels about that. All we know
that he's still mad at Reed.
He's still mad at Reed for causing this and leaving. Which, yeah, they kind of throw him under the bus there, but they don't even explain why.
And how is really Reed the one to blame here? Like, this machine was made by all these people. Like, the government had set it up. Reed just kind of finished it.
Yeah.
But Ben agreed to go too in the beginning. It's like,
and they put Reed in a position where these people could be mad at him for just leaving without anything. And that would have been okay if there was an explanation for why, but there never is. And so, like, when they actually find him, and Ben Grimm goes to like fight him, I guess, which lasts like a second. All we can kind of gather is that he's guilty. That's really all. That he's like, I'm no help. I'm no good to you. This is my fault. And he's like, I agree. Like headbutts him, and it's over. Oh, by the way, I have to mention this scene where when they're coming in to kind of like show them like what their powers are, they're like flying to the location, and someone looks out the window and is like, what the? And this is supposed to be like an awe-inspiring moment, like a moment where like, oh, cool, where you look at it, and then you see this terrible, horrible CGI with the Human Torch flying and taking out a drone. That sounds cool, doesn't it? Like, and then
it looks so weird.
It looks awful. Like the clouds in the background look CGI.
The drone's like movement is like, what is going on right now?
Awful. Not done.
I honestly, when that scene was happening, I was like, what is happening right now? Like, is that supposed to be the Human Torch? Like, is that supposed to be a drone? Because it's moving like a bird or something. It was like all moving around, jittery like. It was just, it's tough when you come from movies like Marvel Studios makes with just amazing special effects. It's so accurate to this. It's just, I guess we're just spoiled. I think is a little bit of it. It's just we've had such an amazing transition over like 10 years. It's just you come to this and it's just hard to watch when a movie spends $120 million and the effects are this rough. It's like you said, the Sci-Fi Channel. It really reminds me of the effects from a TV show where they have weeks to generate the effects.
There's like times when I'd be like, okay, like this looks like the effects I'd expect in like a late 2000s movie, like something like when the original Fantastic Four movie came out, or even a little bit past that, like X-Men 3. But it goes even further in the past in moments where it looks like early 2000 CGI.
Spider-Man stuff.
Like, yeah, Spider-Man 1, but with even less polish.
Yeah,
it's like that little shot was just horrible. Then like you see that he's actually being trained to work for the army to do the same thing as Ben, and he's excited about it, which kind of makes sense because he's like, the whole thing is he's like, I finally have a purpose. I'm excited about my powers, which him being excited about his powers, that's comic book, that's true to character, but it's just like, how do you feel about doing what Ben's doing and going around killing people for no reason? Are we supposed to like a character who has like no moral compass like this? Because that's really what it is. He's a no moral compass. He doesn't care what he does as long as he's doing something. It's like, we don't like any of these characters at this point. And like, Sue's just sitting back. Sue is a blank page.
She's this weird place where I feel like she's doing what they want and training exactly how she wants, but then it's not till like she speaks that you see that she doesn't want to do it at all. It's like, well, then why are you like clearly going along with this, like doing everything she would, like training, hold your breath, Sue, let's try to break the record. And I don't know, like her actions tell a different story than like the way she acts when someone asks her a question about what she's doing. I felt a very weirdness to that. Like when Reed talks to her, she's, talks about how awful it's been, but then she's like going right along with it, like working hard to like get better. You see her like moving the crates and stuff. And
it is all over the place.
It's very strange.
They don't know. Like, I feel like there's like writers who want the characters to be one thing, and there's a writer who wants their character to be another, and it just nothing makes sense. It's like a lot of times we have movies where characters are explaining and not showing what their characters are like, and this is like they're not doing any of that. They're like saying what they're doing, and then they're doing something completely different that's completely contrary. But then they'll even say things that are contrary to what they said earlier, and it's just infuriating. We'll get more of that with Ben's character here, and it's insane where he ends up. Insane how he's so mad about how he is. We get scenes like, I'm a monster, that whole classic Ben Grimm thing, and him and Reed saying, does it hurt? And him saying, I'm used to it, like he's so tortured. And then where this ends up is insulting. And so he brings Reed back, And then they go like basically just so he can finish the machine, and he finishes it in like a second. Like seriously, he gets there and he's like, it's supposed to be like cute,
Only
like
5 minutes.
smug, exactly.
Maybe not quite that long.
Yeah, and it's funny how like isn't it like in the trailer how they completely like twisted that scene around where he's like at the computer as if like reporting on a scene, which we never get, where they like drop Ben Grimm out of the sky. Never happens in this movie. And like explodes onto a tank. That never happens. I'm just realizing this now. That's not in the movie. But they're making it look like he'll be in 10 minutes, and then he's like maybe less. It makes it sound like he's reporting on that.
That's true.
No, he's just fixing his.
It didn't dawn on me till you said that. That's right.
Wow, they probably stopped working on the special effects.
I think they just completely changed that whole scene around.
Wow, geez. And so we never get anything like that in this
Maybe
movie.
it would have been good with that scene in there.
No way. But he completes the machine, and the team of their own scientists actually go to the Earth Zero this time. And this time they come across Dr. Doom or Victor. We've never really called that again. And so he looks like he's really injured, like he's limping.
He acts like he's really injured.
Yeah, I guess that's what he's doing. Is he acting, or is he like really injured at that point?
I think he's just acting.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's had a year. I mean, I think he would have either died or gotten strong, apparently.
Yeah, so he's been there a year, and they bring him back. Bring him to like probably the infirmary, and Reed's like, I want to see him. And the doctor, whatever his name is like, no, I'm talking to him first. No one sees him. And here we have our finale. You were wondering where the build up to our finale is, folks? This is it. We're at our finale already.
Him bringing Reed back, I guess, was the build up.
Yeah, I guess that was supposed to be our build up, because here we've reached our finale of the movie. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the I hope this starts to get good part. This is where that either happens or it doesn't. Bad news. This is the worst part of the movie. You've seen
the best part.
You've already seen the best parts. This is the worst.
Yep.
These parts are when I go from this is really bad to when I throw up my hands and say to myself, I can't believe this is happening. This is terrible. They bring him back, and he goes on about, I'm not going to let you destroy my world. That place kept me alive.
Obliterating people.
Obliterating people. And he's just walking through, and if this sounds cool, it's not. It's not. It goes on for like
explode.
Their heads pop. And I'm horrified, not for myself, but for the 7-year-olds.
This is PG-13.
PG-13. And they're right in front of me. This is completely out of nowhere, because we'll talk about this later, how the tone is
not Marvel-esque.
Not Marvel-esque, not even X-Men-esque. This is just crazy.
No.
This is out of nowhere. He blows up whatever that main doctor's guy's head off.
It's pretty graphic.
Really
shows his face like going crazy.
Yeah, and he's just
rough.
Waltzing down, and then finally he's trying to get back to Earth Zero. He runs into Franklin Storm. He tries to give him a speech. No, fries him. He doesn't blow up his head. He fries him so he can have his last words to his kids, which is just this: take care of each other. And and here we go, our final fight of the movie. You ready? Because how much longer do this movie do we have? Maybe 5 minutes. So we need to get this fight over with in like maybe a minute or so. Blue light shooting from the sky. Earth is getting sucked into it, which is probably one of the best special effects shots of the movie. Just the Earth kind of getting sucked in. Looked fine. It wasn't like amazing, but it looked passable. Looked fine. You've probably even seen this in the trailer or the TV spot or something like that. Like I think what they show.
You've seen the good parts of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the good parts, and they're not good. They're just fine. All right, so they go to this planet. They confront Victor, and they all charge at him separately. Johnny's the first to go fly at him because he, killed his dad. Just covers him with dirt. All right. Then Ben comes, covers him with dirt. Sue comes, covers her in dirt. Then here comes Reed.
It's really exactly what happens. It's as pathetic as it sounds.
Yeah.
They just get encircled by dirt. She's flying around invisible, and he just has a dirt wave and like, where are you? And then her little ball gets covered and she falls to earth.
Yep.
Apparently she can't move now.
It's getting crushed. Everyone can't move. And so here's Reed. He doesn't cover him with dirt, actually. What he does, he's like makes him stretch out and disassembles his suit, which was keeping him and not stretchy. I had no idea the suit was doing that. I thought it was just a suit. I had no idea it was like
when he did
intact.
that, it was like, oh, okay, so these springs apparently held this man together.
I guess so, but I guess
What a hero.
Which makes him seem really lazy because he really masters his abilities in the next
so fast.
Seeing his friends in trouble, all he does is like, oh, I guess I haven't tried this yet.
It's like so hard for him. He's like, oh, and then he stands up. He's like, okay, I'm good.
I got it. Throws a few punches at him and knocks Victor down. He's like, and here we have the classic line. He's too strong. He's too strong for us. In the whole no, he's not stronger than all of us. And then they have to do their team move. Does this sound familiar, by the way? Anyways. And so I can even describe to you what they do. Johnny flies at him, throws some fireballs. Sue covers a couple of them with a force field. One of them hits him, knocks him off balance. And then here we go with she makes Ben invisible. He comes, punches him into the force field, like the blue light, which incinerates him. Done. He's done. This is like a couple minutes. Dr. Doom, this is embarrassing. This is pathetic. This is supposed to be one of the strongest villains in the Marvel universe. That's on Earth. I mean, of course, we have like Galactus, crazy stuff like that. But this is one of the biggest Marvel villains, and they're pissed that they can't use him. And this is how he's being treated.
It was the worst origin story that could have been thought of. It was just the worst. Like for every character, it's just the whole setup. I was thinking like, okay, how are they going to do this? You know, as they're creating the machine and then they go there. I'm like, okay, seriously, how are they going to do this? Sue isn't even there. Like, how is this even going to work? And then like, as it starts exploding, I'm still like, okay, how are they going to do this? And then it happens it's like, wow, it's as bad as I imagined.
Yeah, they just fly into the light.
It makes no sense. It's so dumb. Oh.
And then we have our heroic music that comes out as they stand side by side, and we're supposed to have feelings of, yeah, that was awesome. Like, kind of like, almost like when you see the Avengers at the end of the fight at New York. And it was like supposed to be that, but it was
we're supposed to forget that Reed and Ben still like are completely on two different pages.
We're supposed to, because apparently they forgot. Because we have this scene here closing out the movie where they're like the generals and army people congratulate him, great job, we owe you a debt. And then they say, we're not working with you anymore, we're working on our own. And they're like, what? And guess what? We also need a facility. They're like, what? Ben groans or says, "Rrr." And they're like, what if we say no? Say yes. They give them this really multi-million-dollar facility.
Set up for movie number 2.
Set up for the movie that's never going to happen. And here we have our lines where they have to joke, like kind of like the last bit of Mystery Men, as to what their name's going to be.
Mystery Men.
We have a few terrible attempts at a joke, like torching the torchettes. It's just pathetic. And then we have Ben happy, pleased as punch to be there, smiling, saying things like, I can't believe it's all worked out like this. It's fantastic. Really?
Say it again.
It's fantastic. You're a monster. You're never gonna be human again. You're like, you killed so many people for the army, and it's fantastic.
Just because you defeated Dr. Doom, apparently, it changes everything.
Yeah, because it's like, because here's the problem. Like this tone is all over the place. Starts off being like a science fiction movie with kids building stuff, and then it turns into like almost body horror and like kind of creepy at the end, like when they turn into like the Fantastic Four. It's supposed to be all creepy, where you see Johnny on fire, and then you see Ben stuck in a rock, and Reed's all stretched out, and then it just turns into nothing as they're like looking for. It turns into a bunch of nothing, and just people talking and explaining nothing, and explaining some things but not others. And then at the end, it decides it's a superhero movie, well, like all of Spider-Man, all of the original Fantastic Four, and it just feels completely out of nowhere and and then it's middle finger in the ear when they're saying this stuff like they can't even say Fantastic Four. It's like the Age of Ultron ending. Sorry, never mind. I'm not going to go into that in case you haven't seen that, but it's like they cut him off.
Teaser.
Sure, it's not spoiling much. But and he's like, hold on, I got it. How about this? And they cut to Fantastic Four. You're afraid to say the name of the own movie. The names of the movie is Fantastic Four, and you're afraid to say it. Granted, if he said it there, it would have been stupid. Would have been good. It should have been earlier in the movie where they're like, we're calling them the Fantastic Four. I don't care.
Compared to the rest of the movie,
it would have
been a great.
You might as freaking well. It's just a bigger insult when you can't even say it, as if this movie's so serious and so mentally compelling. It can't say the name Fantastic Four, but you're just going to show it at the end. But no, saying it, that would be too stupid. Yeah.
What about Super Rain?
Exactly. Like, I hate that. Don't be too cool to say the name of the character that you're making a whole movie out of. If you're gonna think it's too stupid, so are the people watching it. Don't be freaking ashamed of it. That just makes everyone else realize how stupid it is. Because let's not be fools. At face value, a lot of this stuff is stupid. There's compelling stories and compelling characters told from these like kind of goofy premises that were made in like the 60s. But
as we've seen
time and time
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians of the freaking Galaxy.
If something is goofy, it can be done right. In the right hands, with the right story. Portrayed in the right way, these characters can be characters that you can connect with. Even if you have a rock monster, it can still be created in a way that people enjoy. I mean, that's what an audience needs. An audience needs a connection to the characters. And there are many things, but that is one major thing here that never happened. There was no connection to the characters. As hard as they tried with the young Ben and the young Reed, you just don't get connected to them. I thought those actors did a fine job, the young kids, but it wasn't intriguing at all. You didn't see any sparks fly between the characters, them actually becoming friends. I think of movies like Super 8, where it's a bunch of young kids, but you do get connected to these young kids. It doesn't matter that they're young actors. There is a way that you can write a story to where they become adorable, and you want them to do whatever it was. And as cute as like the N64s were in the beginning, it wasn't enough. The script was just written in a way where it was just kind of blah. The lines just fell short. They fell flat so many times for me. And that was one of the things I think that was a big major downfall of this movie. It didn't have any characters that you really cared whether they lived or died, from Victor Van Doom to Reed Richards to The Thing. Like, none of these characters you gave a crap about. And when they actually became the characters that they were meant to become, it was like, first of all, that doesn't make any sense. But second of all, I don't care that happened to them, because I didn't care about their story to begin with. And it, like Jordan said, it only got worse. You never got to a point where it was like, well, does Sue like Victor? I don't know. Is Reed gonna work things out with The Thing? Are they gonna become friends again? Can they work together as a team? No. You always felt like Johnny Storm. You always felt like Johnny Storm was just this person who didn't give an F. He always seemed to want his car back to go racing.
Oh yeah.
like they didn't just keep mentioning it, but it always felt like it went back to that. It felt like he's just some person who got brought in out of nowhere. He doesn't know these people. He's not become friends with them. He has no emotional connection to them. He's just doing something for his dad, who we see that he does care about him. But other than that, he has no other reason to be here. He knows Sue, but he doesn't care about Sue. And I feel like he might have known Victor Von Doom, like, in passing, because his dad worked with him. Mm-hmm. But other than that, he's just a kid out racing with his car, and his car blows up and he gets in trouble, and he's going to be arrested, so his dad bails him out and he has to work with him. And it's like, all that is just like, to me, a reference to the rest of the movie. It's all this disconnect of characters who never come together to be the quote-unquote Fantastic Four, or at the least a team, any team, some team that cares about each other. At no point do you feel like any of these characters really have a relationship. No. Even the ones who had the biggest history, which are Reed Richards and Ben, they never even seem like they're that close. It's just like, Ben happened along and happened to be his friend just because he was doing something cool, and neither one of them really had friends, so let's hang out. And that's how it felt like with all these characters.
Complete betrayal of every single one. A lot of people are pointing out Von Doom because probably he is the most egregious because of how important of a character and how cool of a character he's supposed to be. But every single one of these characters are not likable, not defined. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they want. There's vague stuff thrown around, but it usually ends up being contradicted later. And like it's all over the place. It's totally off. The characters are off. They hint character arcs and character plots, but they don't finish them. It is not even close to being finished. The CGI is awful. The action that is here, which is very sparse. Very sparse. How many action scenes do you think there are in this movie, Luke? If you had to say.
3.
All right. Where are they?
Well, there's the main end one, and then there's the one where they get Reed. And I guess the one where they go to the planet for the first time. Those are the first ones I can think of.
The one at the planet for the first time where there's not, it's basically they're running away from
action.
something. It's kind of like a
just
disaster.
Trying to escape.
Yeah, and it doesn't last long. The thing versus Mr. Fantastic and those guards, couple seconds of, probably the best action in the movie, which is
so short-lived.
Short-lived and not good. But like that ending's horrible. Terrible, very short-lived. There's nothing here. Both Fantastic Four movies that came before it, much more action, much more funny, and characters had arcs.
It was just on TV, so I watched a pretty good amount of the first one as well. So I'm well refreshed on what that movie looks like, and
yeah,
I liked it so much more.
So much more. And we both think those are pretty bad movies, but compared to this, The Dark Knight. It's like Avengers compared to this. Citizen Kane. It sounds like we're just taking it to this movie, and it's just the reality, guys. This is the reality, folks. We had a discussion at the end where Luke asked Jordan, "Do you think this is the worst superhero movie?" And I had to think about it because I'm no fool. I know the superhero movies that came before it. I know the superhero movies that came out in the 90s, and I was boggling my mind thinking, like, is that one it? Well, there was that.
There's things about those other movies, though, like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not a good movie, like the old one from the 90s. But there's things about it that I think are adorable. And so, there are things about it I like, even though it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't know, like them eating pizza and hanging out down below and, getting the pizza guy to drop the pizza. Like, there's adorable things about it. There's nothing like that in this movie that I think anyone could look back on and say, that was cute. That was interesting. It just, maybe I'm just so overwhelmed with dislike that I'm a little bit blinded by that. But right now I don't see how I could look back on this and say, there are some of those parts of the movie I'd like to go back and see the movie to be reminded of those adorable parts about the characters.
And let me be clear, this is not a movie you can laugh at how bad it is. You can't. It can't be done. This isn't Sharknado where you can be like, this is so horrible, I can't believe it. Ha 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 ha. This isn't like even one of the bad superhero movies like Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, where it's just so ridiculous. You're just like, ha ha ha, and nothing looks as cool as Ghost Rider. This isn't Howard the Duck, which is just so unbelievable and crazy and kooky and so nostalgic that you can kind of have some sort of...
You can kind of tell that's the goal of the movie, though. Like, it's meant to be goofy and off the wall.
Really? Because I thought it was meant to be serious.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about movies like Howard the Duck.
Exactly. Like, it's supposed to be goofy
Teenage
and
Mutant
crazy.
Ninja Turtles. It's goofy. It's just what it is.
Exactly. There's nothing to latch onto here.
This one's not meant to do that. That's what I'm saying. This one's not meant to be goofy. It's not meant to be laughed at. There's a couple little, sarcastic things that are supposed to be funny, but other than that, it's like we're telling the origin story of the Fantastic Four in a serious way.
Yeah. I'm really curious. Please email in, message us, tell us what you think is the worst movie of all time, whether you've seen this movie or not. I'm curious. I'm trying to think if I'm missing something because I'm like thinking, Steel, like movies like that. At least I'm like, my gosh, I can laugh.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to see it.
Oof. You can laugh at. You can at least laugh at Shaq's performance.
Oh, okay.
It's a really, because these movies are terrible. They're terrible, folks. But I think this is a step below it. I have to say that it is the worst superhero movie I've seen, at least in my opinion. You might have a different opinion, and that's fine because I think there's a point where like super bad movies are just terrible and just don't whatever. But like, Yeah, that's the poster for Steel. Pretty good,
Heroes
huh?
don't come any bigger.
How great. What?
That's the tagline.
Are you kidding? It's just an inverse of the Ant-Man? Wow, Ant-Man, you copied Steel's... No, that's not the case. But bottom line, we don't like this movie very much, do we?
We don't.
Shall we rate it? Shall we give it a ranking?
I think so.
All right, go ahead, Luke. How do you rate this movie? I'm curious.
I'm curious. Wow. I'm gonna go with a 3.
2.5. This is terrible. It just if you're listening to this for some reason and you just haven't seen the movie, which is fine. I think it's perfectly fine. Just don't even bother. Redbox, don't even bother. There's no enjoyment to be had here. To be a part of a discussion is worthless. I mean, there's nothing to spoil. There really isn't. There's nothing to spoil. There's nothing I could have said that would have been like, what? They defeat Victor Von Doom, but you just would have no idea of how badly it was done. So yeah, badly. Yeah, whatever, how bad my grammar is. All right. Bad, terrible, don't see it. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
I'll wrap it up with this. It's not the worst movie ever made.
No. It's the worst superhero movie.
But it might be on the list.
Yeah, it's in the conversation. Like, if this isn't your least favorite superhero movie or the worst superhero movie ever made, it must be in the conversation. I really think that it has to be somewhere in the conversation.
That's why it's not a 0.5, because there are redeemable things about this movie, but
like
it's
the
really
fact that they tried and it's in HD. The movie is in HD.
And they have reasonable actors in it.
Yeah.
They're just not used in a good way.
Yeah, the acting is bad, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's their fault so much as
I've seen all these actors do great things. And it's
Miles Teller is a perfect example of that. He was in an
yeah.
Oscar-nominated movie.
Oscar-nominated.
Absolutely.
Michael B. Jordan was good in Chronicle. I can tell he looks like he's going to be good in Creed. I think. I don't think I've even seen any other movies with him in it. Kate Mara, she's in House of Cards.
Yeah. Yeah, she did a good job.
Toby Kebbell, I can't say a darn thing because I don't really but I don't think I really can recognize what he's
been
in.
in some decent roles from what I remember.
And Josh Trank made Chronicle, and it's crazy to see. Well, that was an independent.
Some people don't like that movie.
Some people don't like it. I think it's a good movie, but maybe it's a one-trick pony. Maybe that was his vision. Maybe he was able to carry it out. Maybe we won't see anything good. I'd suspect that he's going to go back to indie movies because he
probably won't be making movies for Fox anytime soon.
He was very quick to turn on the movie. The day it was released, we have a tweet from him saying,
really?
Yeah, something along the lines of,
sorry.
Sorry.
That's all he said. I'm so sorry. They forced my hand up until this day.
Yeah, a statement along the lines of like I had a great movie in mind.
Great. That's all he said.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm leaving Twitter.
Just a sad emoji.
And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I will say it's 100% possible that it was studio interference.
The worst movie could be made.
Yeah, or that maybe studio interference did affect this movie so greatly. It's hard for me to imagine, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt from there because I want to be fair because I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he said something along the lines of like, I had a great movie in mind, and like if I was allowed to make that movie, it would have had great
really
reviews.
Close to, I'm sorry.
It really does. It pretty much is, and it says like I don't think that movie will ever be seen or made or whatever. Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's interesting, and
he should do a Kickstarter for the movie that he wanted to make.
I'd love to see the documentary that comes out that details the behind the scenes of making of this movie. That's what I'd like to see. Not this movie ever again, but I'd like to get the full story. Anything else?
What if he sold the script to Marvel Studios, and in 5 years, Marvel Studios has the rights to Fantastic Four, and that movie gets made? Maybe they see the script and go, "Wow, this would be a good story."
I don't know. I mean, I think one thing is for certain, based on the stories that I heard, that I don't think anyone will want to work with Trank like that again because, like,
wow,
it was said that like he chose not to do Star Wars because he was supposed to do a Star Wars spinoff. No, I don't think that was the case. I don't know that, but I don't believe that was the case. And the reports of him being difficult to work with on set, regardless, the way like you're treated by the studio, you don't act out. this sort of thing happens all the time with studio disagreements. You don't act crazy, you act professional.
Until after the movies come out.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But all right, so what do you think the future is for the Fantastic Four? Because I was saying, let the rights roll over to Marvel. Let it go back. They could do Fantastic Four well. Because I'm hearing people say, I just don't know if a live-action Fantastic Four movie can be good. I completely disagree with that because look at what we've seen Marvel do. It just hasn't been done. And after 3, technically 4 movies, because we had, I don't know if you know about this, but there was a Fantastic Four movie made in the 90s by what's his face? That horrible filmmaker. What's his name? He's done like 1,000 movies.
That horrible filmmaker.
He works for like Asylum and all those. But anyways, they made the movie strictly just so they can have the rights still, and it was never released theatrically. You could probably go online and watch this full movie, but it's fully made.
It's public domain. That's how bad it is.
I don't know if anyone even owns.
Nobody
the rights.
even wanted it.
I don't think anyone owns the rights to it. It might be public domain, but yeah, that's probably better than this movie.
I guess where I stand on the Fantastic Four is that I agree with you. I think it definitely could be done, but I'm just kind of burned out, and I just kind of don't care.
Yeah,
I
don't blame.
I mean, I think it'd be great if Marvel did that, but I just kind of want to keep going with the Marvel universe as it is.
Yeah.
With the introduction to Ant-Man, I'm kind of done with new characters for a little bit. I just want to keep going with what I find a very interesting story that they have to tell now. And I don't see a lot of value in the Fantastic Four being introduced so late into the universe that they've introduced now. Maybe if they finish out Phase 4 and kind of want to start on a new leg of the universe, I think that could be interesting. But I think we need some years to just kind of recuperate from just bad movie after bad movie.
Yeah, and I feel like they feel the same way. I feel like a lot of people at Marvel probably watch this movie and they want to separate themselves. I don't know if you know this, but they stopped Fantastic Four comics. Marvel said no. I mean, some of the characters are still doing stuff. Like Doctor Doom has a huge role in the comics going on right now. But I could imagine that that's the character they want because they need good villains. He's one of the biggest ones. I could imagine that, but I don't know that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I could see that.
But
Doctor Doom can play a good role in the universe now.
Yeah, and the thing is the people who see this movie who aren't like me, who love the characters and are like, I like the Fantastic Four, I just want them to have a good movie. People who just have the association from the movies are going to see this, and they're not going to want them to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's like poison to them on screen. So I don't see it happening anytime soon, and it's a shame. It really is a shame that this movie happened and had to be made.
I think it's the best thing, though. Give it some time.
Give it some time. Let us
get over this abomination.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry we didn't have a better report for you. I'm sorry for myself for seeing it. But, yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And I'm sorry also we haven't had a regular episode of our movie and TV and game news and what we've been watching / playing and all that stuff. We've just had so many movie releases. A lot of us have been busy. You haven't seen Joe and Andrew in a while. They've been vacationing and really busy doing stuff. But hopefully we'll be back to our regular stuff soon. We have another SpoilerCast coming out. We're going to be definitely watching A Man from U.N.C.L.E., which looks pretty awesome. I'm
definitely
hoping it's going to be
one of the ones I've been looking forward to the most this year.
Awesome. So I would assume that no matter what, it's going to be a better report than what we have for you today.
Oh man, if it's not, I'm going to be heartbroken.
Ridiculous. I haven't seen a movie that bad in a long time, so I can't.
It'd be worse than this one. Oh, man.
I can't imagine. I can't.
My heart couldn't take that.
I literally can't, because even the bad movies are the mediocre movies that I've seen this year, like freaking Terminator Genesis. I'd watch that 10 times before I'd watch this again. But yep. That's our show, guys.
That's our depressing show.
Yeah, but if you want to, as we said, tell us what your least favorite, worst superhero movie is. I'll be really actually very interested to see what a lot of you guys said. I'm not going to be like, you're wrong or anything like that, because, it's your opinion. How can your opinion be wrong? And so, yeah, let us know. I'd be really interested to hear that. And you can ways you can let us know is you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter at MTG Pod. You can mention us there if you want to
like
talk
us
to
on
us.
Facebook.
Like us on Facebook is what you can do. Just interact with us there. I'm always watching the page. And you can interact with us on YouTube in the comments down below. And subscribe to our page, like our videos, share them with your friends. Tell your friends about us if you enjoy this kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yes, please do.
And we'll see you next week and we'll try to have a regular episode up. We're going to try to wrangle some
news
of us
filled
up and have some news because we so much news we've been kind of just not covering. Like a lot of crazy stuff's been happening. Sorry, but
we'll get out as much as we can.
We'll get out as much as we can, but definitely spoiler cast for Man for Uncle will be coming soon.
Definitely.
Check out our other videos, and you have a wonderful day. And
Thank
we'll
you.
see you later. Yes, thank you. Peace out.
See ya.